Straight ahead, missed votes. Retiring Fort Worth Congresswoman Kay Granger acknowledges she's had health issues after a report found she hasn't voted on bills since late July, why the Texas GOP chairman says she should have stepped down. Gaining intensity, the race for Texas House Speaker continues to heat up. We'll discuss the pressure campaign against some Republicans. Focus on education. The only Democratic state representative from Collin County discusses her top priority of public schools heading into the next legislative session. Good morning, I'm Jack Fink. Get your fix for Texas politics. Eye on Politics starts now. Hello and welcome to Eye on Politics. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to everyone celebrating. We begin with longtime Fort Worth Congresswoman whose health troubles led to missed votes and national headlines. 1 week ago, Republican Kay Granger acknowledged publicly that her health concerns progressed quickly this year following a report that said she hadn't voted on bills since late July. The Congresswoman has received praise for her decades of service, but criticism for not being transparent and not fully representing her constituents.
I'm very proud of her for standing up and acknowledging it.
Former Fort Worth Mayor Betsy Price said she had heard Congresswoman Kay Granger had some health issues, but didn't realize they were more serious. On Sunday, the 81-year-old Congresswoman issued a statement saying, quote, "As many of my family, friends, and colleagues have known, I've been navigating some unforeseen health challenges over the past year. However, since early September, my health challenges have progressed, making frequent travel to Washington both difficult and unpredictable." Granger's son told the Dallas Morning News that she was, quote, "having some dementia issues late in the year," and that she is a resident of an independent living facility called Clear Fork Tradition in Fort Worth. He declined to elaborate more when we reached out to him. The conservative publication Dallas Express first reported that Granger hasn't voted since July 24th of this year, a fact we found on Congress's official website. Price says Granger's decision to come forward and stay in office are a personal decision.
And I think that was her choice on timing. We shouldn't do coulda, shoulda, woulda, and take a look at that. I mean, we have to celebrate what Kay's done and the service she's given this country.
Granger announced over a year ago she was not running for re-election and retiring from Congress after being elected in 1996. The chairman of the Texas GOP, Abraham George, says he would like to have seen more transparency from the Congresswoman.
Well, honestly, I think if she was not available, she should have stepped down. I get it. She was retiring the last, about a year or so. She said she's not running again. So we expected something as serious as this, that she should have stepped down and let a special election happen.
Sources familiar with the situation tell me that Granger informed House leadership about her challenges and told them if she was needed for a crucial vote in Washington, she would be there.
We've had the same conversation about Joe Biden over the last 4 years, multiple times, and it's the same issue. It doesn't matter which part of the party you're in. I mean, this is a representative republic, and that she's not available to cast important ballots. That's very concerning to the party.
She stepped down in March as the chairwoman of the powerful House Appropriations Committee, and last month she or her office posted photos of her on X receiving her official portrait honoring her service as a committee chair.
And she's been a champion for this region, and no stronger supporter for the city of Fort Worth than our region. And whether as mayor or council member in Washington, Kay's done a beautiful job.
She's been a champion for Republican causes and conservative values. She brought in a lot of work to her district and for Texas. She's done a great job for Texas.
Granger became the first Republican woman to serve in Congress from Texas in 1997. Last year, she became the first Republican woman to chair the powerful House Appropriations Committee. Granger was also the first woman to be elected Fort Worth mayor, and she held that position for 5 years. Congressman-elect Craig Goldman, a former Republican state representative from Fort Worth, will succeed Granger and is set to be sworn in with the new Congress this Friday. Well, from Washington, D.C. to the Texas Capitol, the race for House Speaker between Republican Representatives David Cook of Mansfield and Dustin Burrows of Lubbock is intensifying. Cook won the House GOP caucus endorsement earlier this month after Dade Phelan announced he's dropping his bid to be the Speaker once again. Burrows, who was on Phelan's leadership team, is still vying for the gavel. In a post on the platform X earlier this month, Governor Abbott said, quote, "Let me be clear. I worked this entire year to elect conservative candidates who will pass conservative laws, including school choice. To achieve that goal, we need a Texas House Speaker chosen by a majority of Republicans in accordance with the Republican caucus rules." The Texas Republican Party is running a TV ad in Lubbock against Burrows.
Dustin Burrows made a promise.
I want to see the next Republican speaker to be able to fully show that he has support of the majority of the members of the Republican caucus.
But when Republicans rejected his bid to be speaker, Burrows broke that promise.
I spoke with Texas Republican Party Chair Abraham George about that ad, and he said after the House GOP caucus backed Representative Cook over Burrows, they're now trying to expand Cook's support among Republicans.
The Representative Cook has 62 members on his side now, and we need 76. So there's 14 more Republicans that we're working with, trying to figure out who is going to be able to move over to the right side. We're actually sending out text messages to the districts who Republican members who is not on board with the caucus nominee yet. We have mailers going out. We have a TV ad playing in Lubbock. So the party is taking this very seriously, and SREC a couple of weeks ago came together, passed a resolution that any person who is not getting behind the caucus nominee may be met with penalties moving forward.
What kind of penalties?
Well, the Rule 44 of the Republican Party allows the Republican Party to censure members of our side, and also to say if there are multiple violations such as this happening over time, that the party if the party members feel that they're not really on our side, they're more working with the Democrats or working as Democrats, we may ask them to step down from being on the ballot so that we can remove them from the ballot in the next cycle. So we're not there yet. We're not even having these conversations among ourselves yet, but it is a possibility if that's what it's going to end up.
So, I mean, should these Republican members who are supporting Representative Burrows be concerned that the Texas GOP will be trying to find alternative Republican candidates to challenge them in a primary?
Pretty much. Yep.
And so let me ask you about that ad you were talking about that's running in Lubbock. Whose decision was that?
The decision came from me and our officials committee we did that. And also while the caucus was meeting to choose their nominee, the SREC was in session as well, the exact same weekend. So the SREC made a decision to not only put it out there that we are getting behind a nominee who would not put Democrats in committee chairmanships.
I also spoke with Republican State Representative Carl Tepper of Lubbock, who supports Burrows. He's a friend and says the House GOP caucus is broken.
If you look back at Dustin's record, he's got a long record of having his fingers in pretty much every major conservative initiative Texas has had, everything from stabilizing and even lowering property taxes to eliminating DEI in our university systems to helping to, and we're still working on it, eliminate pornographic material in our schools. I think you're looking at by far the most conservative candidate in this race.
As you know, the House GOP caucus earlier in the month selected Cook. More Republicans backed him. And so I'm wondering, why shouldn't that be binding? And why shouldn't all the House Republicans back what the caucus decided? And even Governor Abbott had tweeted about that earlier in the month.
I reject the premise that the Republican caucus had selected Cook. The caucus was at a stalemate. The caucus has been breaking rules for over 2 years now. And essentially the caucus has dissolved. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but there's 3 or 4 different camps of the Republican Party in the House right now. And the caucus just doesn't seem to matter anymore. And so I feel like I'm with a group of conservatives fighting for Dustin Burrows for Speaker. And right now, it's almost, anything can happen between now and January 14th, but it's almost a mathematical certainty that Dustin Burrows will be the Speaker of the House in just about 3 weeks now.
The Texas Republican Party is running TV ads, as I understand it, in Lubbock, really criticizing Chair Burrows and basically saying, you know, he's not playing by the rules. What's your response to that?
And that's interesting. The Republican Party of Texas is insignificant at this point. They've been insignificant and marginalized for quite some time now. You know, it's funny. I've been a fierce fighter for Trump Republicans, for the Republican Party of Texas. I'm one of maybe a few hundred people that helped build the Republican Party of Texas. Since I've been elected, the Republican Party of Texas hasn't even given me a word of encouragement in the 2 or 3 years I've been doing this now. And so I think it's sad how the Republican Party of Texas has devolved. It's become fringe candidates, or fringe leadership. It's leadership that is taking its orders from reclusive billionaires out of Midland and other places.
I spoke with Texas GOP Chair Abraham George, and I asked him if Republicans who are backing Burrows should be concerned about a potential primary challenge. And he told me, yep, pretty much. That was his quote.
Yeah, he can bring it on, and we can challenge him as well.
To become Speaker, a candidate needs a majority of at least 76 votes, and that vote for Speaker takes place on January 14th, the first day of the legislative session. Well, we're just about to enter 2025. Some Texas Republicans are already looking ahead to the next big primary election in 2026. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton was asked at a recent event by the group Turning Point USA when he's going to announce if he's running against Senator John Cornyn in the March 2026 primary.
How about if I say this? Not yet. So we are definitely, I am praying about it. We are looking at that. I'm talking to a lot of people in Texas over the next couple months. Yes, sir. And ask me that question in a couple of months and I'll have a different answer. So thank you.
Paxton said he was pleased with that crowd's reaction when he asked if he should challenge Cornyn, who has said he is running for re-election. Coming up, the only Democratic state representative representing Collin County discusses her top priority, public schools, when Eye on Politics comes right back. Welcome back to Eye on Politics. The only Democratic state representative from Collin County, Mihaela Plisa, recently became the vice chair of the House Democratic Caucus. Before Democrats selected Plisa to fill that role, we spoke with her about her top priority, public schools.
Public education is going to be our biggest fight going into the next legislative session. We know that education savings accounts or vouchers are going to be a top priority for the governor. And so as a recapture district, it is going to be crucial for districts like mine to make sure that we are keeping our money in our districts. And so I have set our first legislative priorities to be about taxparency, transparency around taxation, making sure that the monies that we are sending back to Austin stay in public education, but that initially most of the money that we pay in our property taxes, if they are public education dollars, that they stay in our district.
You brought up school choice. Governor Abbott has said he's got the votes for it. And so how do you and other Democrats try to block it?
Look, we don't know what the votes are until the bill is up. We don't even know what this bill is going to look like. There's been a couple of bills proposed, but I have some of my colleagues that are saying that the bills that were proposed last session were irresponsible financially, and they were bad bills. These were bad voucher bills, right? So thank God the bipartisan coalition stood together and defeated this voucher scam. We need to make sure that what these bills look like are universal, and making sure that the constitutional requirements that the state of Texas has to educate 5 million children is implemented. And that's what I'm looking for. And so we have to be really careful when we're talking about these vouchers, these ESAs, schools choice, right? We have to look at what other states have implemented and what it's done to their budgets. We're getting reports every day of how it's blown these states' budgets, and we cannot risk the Texas miracle.
The governor and supporters of school choice have said that the funding is not going to come directly from schools. It's going to come from the general fund, not the school foundation program. So you're shaking your head. You don't buy it.
No, I don't. You look, we know how public schools are funded. We know how schools are funded in this state. We are talking about taking money from taxpayers and sending it to private schools. That's what ESAs are. That's what vouchers are. And so we need to make sure that we create accountabilities for Texas taxpayers and for their money. We're talking about 5 million children here. We're talking about the future workforce of America. These are very serious decisions that we're making.
Teacher pay raises.
Yes.
I know everybody says they support this. Do you think that the legislature should set aside money specifically for these school districts for teacher pay raises? In other words, saying we're giving you X amount of dollars, this has to be spent on raising teacher salaries?
I think that we've had this conversation last session as well, and for me, my answer is yes. It's very, very important that our teachers feel respected within the profession, that they can stay and afford to be in the profession. I had multiple teachers coming into my office last session who had second or third jobs, and that's just really unacceptable for teachers in Texas, right? And so I think that there should be something that we're doing to make sure that we are letting teachers know we're hearing you and we're making this a priority.
We will get a clearer idea about school choice and public school funding when the new Speaker of the House and Lieutenant Governor unveil specific bills next month. Coming up next, longtime North Texas Congressman Michael Burgess is retiring from Congress. His message on how to cut spending when Eye on Politics returns. Longtime North Texas Congressman Michael Burgess is retiring after 22 years in office. I spoke with a Denton County Republican recently about how Congress can reduce federal spending, his proudest accomplishment, and the official portrait he received earlier this month at the U.S. Capitol honoring his role as chairman of the House Rules Committee.
It's even more than that because the Rules Committee, as you know, meets in the Capitol. So the hearing room is in the Capitol. So it's not just a portrait in an office building across the street. It's a portrait in the Capitol of a Texan. That's important to me.
You were elected in 2002.
That's right.
And so what comes to mind about how would you describe your years in office?
Well, look, there's various aspects of it. The constituent service part was really not something that I thought about a lot when I first ran, but it's one of the most important parts of the job. And, we don't brag about them. I treat constituent service much in the same way I treated my medical practice. You obviously don't talk about patients when you're in a medical practice, but we've done a number of tremendous things. And every time I'm out somewhere, in fact, Senator Cruz had a big rally right before the November election. And there were 3 or 4 people who came up to me and say, you don't remember, but you helped me with Social Security, with the VA, getting my kid in the Service Academy. Those sorts of things are what people really remember you for.
So what would you say your greatest accomplishments are? What sticks out most to you?
You know, there are several. One that I point to not infrequently is the fact that one of our biggest, most pressing needs in this area is going to be water. The people who did planning and thought about things in the 40s and 50s actually provided us the ability for the Metroplex to grow the way it has because of the ability to get water. Did I get a new lake? No, I didn't. There's not going to be a lake named after me. But there was a crisis with our existing Garza Little Elm Lake Lewisville that the dam had not just 1, not just 2, but 3 seepage areas, which were going to cause big trouble down the road. And they needed help getting the financing for that, and I threw myself into that. We also got a rock slide on the dam repaired, and they're just about to finish up putting in new anchors in the spillway, which the design specs in 1957 weren't quite what are required today. And so there's been a lot of improvements on that dam. So I point to that and I say, well, you didn't get a new lake, but you didn't lose your old lake. and that's terribly important for the growth and stability of the area.
I have to ask you about the national debt, which has just increased to over $36 trillion. Now that you're leaving Congress, what do you think has to be done to get spending under control?
Let me tell you one of the things I'm most excited about for the new administration. Yeah, they're going to have some hard decisions to make, but the fact that they're putting a priority on government efficiency is really something I have never seen in my 22 years there, and I've wished we would.
Burgess has donated his congressional archive from the past 22 years to the Special Collections Department within the University of North Texas Libraries. Remember, you can watch the full interviews of everyone today on our YouTube channel. Just search CBS News Texas and click on the subscribe button. There's also an Eye on Politics playlist where you can catch up on any shows you may have missed. That's all for Eye on Politics this week. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Jack Fink. I am listening, and we are listening to you at CBS News Texas. From all of us here, Happy New Year. Make it a great 2025.